They say life begins at 40, but what if that's not just a motivational slogan, but a profound truth we've overlooked all along? Before 40, you're not failing, you're not falling behind, you're researching. These thought-provoking words, attributed to Carl Jung, challenge everything we've been conditioned to believe about success, purpose, and the timeline of our lives. From a young age, we're told that the 20s and 30s are the peak years, the golden era when we're supposed to climb the career ladder, build families, and achieve everything that defines our worth in the eyes of society. But let me ask you, have you ever paused, truly paused, and asked yourself, is this really all there is? As you near the age of 40, something subtle but powerful begins to shift. It starts quietly like a whisper in the back of your mind. A voice you've silenced for years suddenly speaks up. Are these dreams truly mine? The questions become louder, the discontent more noticeable. It's not a crisis, it's a calling. And perhaps, just perhaps, Jung was right. Maybe everything you've experienced so far, the hard work, the wins, the mistakes, the heartbreak wasn't the destination. It was preparation. But preparation for what? The early years, building the mask. In the first decades of life, we're running a relentless race. Childhood melts into adolescence. School turns into university. We're building, adapting, proving. Always striving for something just out of reach. Jung referred to this phase as research. And what were we researching? Ourselves. Or more specifically, how to survive in a world full of expectations. This is the time when we craft our persona, a social mask we wear to fit in, to succeed, to be accepted. It becomes our interface with the world. We take on roles. We follow the rules. We learn how to be what others want us to be. The persona is not fake, but it is incomplete. It's useful. It helps us navigate complexity, fulfill obligations, and earn our place in society. But slowly it convinces us that it's all there is. We become attached to it. We identify with it. And in doing so, we often lose sight of something far more important, our true self. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I've done everything I was supposed to do? Why do I still feel like something's missing? That quiet unease you feel deep down, that disconnection, is not failure. It's the beginning of an awakening. The illusion of external success. Through our 20s and 30s, most of us are sprinting. We're building careers, chasing milestones, trying to tick every box on the checklist society handed us. We do what our parents, teachers, and mentors said was right. We follow the blueprint, and often we succeed. But something doesn't quite click. You might have the home, the relationship. From the outside, everything looks great. But inside, there's a growing sense of discontent, a quiet, inexplicable void. And it's not because you did anything wrong. It's because you spent so much time constructing an identity based on external definitions of success that you never had time to ask what truly fulfills you, what brings you alive. This growing disconnection is not unusual. In fact, it's incredibly common, and it tends to surface just as you approach middle age. Midlife, the crossroads of awakening. Turning 40 can feel like standing at a spiritual intersection. One road continues the path you've always walked, familiar, well-paved, but somehow lacking. The other road, it's foggy, less defined, but it whispers promises of something real, something deeper. It's here that many begin to question, who am I really? What do I value now, not 5 years ago? What kind of life do I want to live now that I know what doesn't satisfy me? For Jung, this wasn't a crisis, it was a rite of passage, a sacred turning point. He believed that midlife is not a decline but an invitation, a call to move beyond your persona and begin a journey back to your authentic self. The things that once seemed vital status, titles, accolades, start to lose their power. In their place emerges a longing for meaning, purpose, truth. You stop chasing what you think you're supposed to want and start tuning into what your soul actually craves. The neurology of transformation. And this isn't just philosophy, it's biology. Modern neuroscience supports what Jung intuitively knew. During midlife, the brain undergoes structural changes. Emotional regulation improves. Self-awareness deepens. You become more reflective, less reactive, more capable of seeing the bigger picture. What once felt like a hard yes or no now becomes, let me think about what's truly right for me. That internal flexibility opens the door to growth. As your brain shifts, so do your priorities. Goals that once defined your identity, climbing the ladder, proving your worth, begin to feel negotiable. What emerges is a space for something more soulful to take root, letting go of the old story. This transition isn't easy. Shedding the persona can feel like losing part of yourself. You may feel lost, directionless, even scared. But that discomfort is a sign you're evolving. You're not discarding your past, you're integrating it. All the effort, all the striving wasn't a waste. It taught you what you needed to learn. It showed you what matters and what doesn't. And now, standing at this threshold, you have a choice. Do you continue living out someone else's script, or do you start writing your own? Jung believed that moments of dissatisfaction are sacred. They're not problems to fix, they're invitations to transform. Life begins. Now, reaching 40 is not the end of youth. It's the beginning of depth. It's the moment when your life stops being about performance and starts being about presence. When your days become less about impressing others and more about aligning with your truth. You're no longer trying to fit in. You're starting to belong to yourself. You might start redefining success. Maybe it's no longer about money or prestige, but about freedom, fulfillment, impact, inner peace. You may feel a sudden urge to create, to slow down, to serve others, or to reconnect with parts of yourself you long buried. And here's the truth. This shift isn't just valid, it's vital. It means you're listening, you're evolving, you're stepping out of the shadow of your persona and stepping into the light of your authentic self. The real beginning. So if you're approaching 40 or already there and you're feeling restless, uncertain, or strangely hopeful, take heart. You're not broken, you're breaking open. Everything you've lived until now was the groundwork, the research phase, the gathering of experience, wisdom, and lessons, and now comes the real living. This is your invitation to look within, to question everything you once accepted, and to embrace the next chapter, not with fear, but with courage, with curiosity, with the knowing that the best is yet to come. Carl Jung was right. Life doesn't end at 40, it finally begins. The shadow and the seum, a journey to wholeness, begins at 40. Have you ever felt like there's a part of you that's been quietly waiting in the background? Unseen, unheard, but always there. As you enter midlife, that quiet presence starts to stir. It rises from beneath the surface, asking not for attention, but for truth. For many, this moment feels like a subtle nudge. For others, it's an emotional reckoning. And at the center of this awakening is one of Carl Jung's most powerful insights, the shadow. Jung believed that your shadow is not your enemy. It's not something dark and shameful to fear. It is the part of you that holds all the traits, desires, vulnerabilities, and emotions you've hidden away to survive and succeed. And at 40, the shadow no longer stays silent. It begins to call. Facing what you've hidden. When we're young, society teaches us what's acceptable and what's not. We learn to suppress our wild creativity, deny our anger, downplay our sadness, and tuck away our desires. Why? Because we're told to behave, to fit in, to succeed. But at what cost? By the time you reach 40, you've worn the mask of the persona for so long that it begins to feel tight, restrictive, like an identity that no longer fits. This is when the shadow knocks at the door, and it doesn't come to destroy. It comes to liberate. Confronting the shadow is not easy. It means looking at parts of yourself you've tried to forget, your fears, your regrets, the dreams you buried beneath responsibility. But it's only by facing those hidden truths that you begin to grow. What parts of yourself have you left behind? Is it a creative spark you once nurtured? A longing for a more meaningful life? A need to live with more authenticity and less compromise? When you finally dare to look inward, you begin the most important journey of all, the journey toward becoming whole. Becoming your true self. Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating all aspects of yourself, both light and shadow, conscious and unconscious. And for many, this journey truly begins at midlife. It's not about throwing away your past. It's not about starting over. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself you've ignored and building something richer, more authentic. You might ask yourself, are the dreams I'm chasing still mine? Or were they handed to me by others, by parents, teachers, bosses, or culture? This self-reflection can spark profound change. It might lead you to let go of toxic relationships, pursue an old passion, or simply create more space for what brings you joy. You're no longer living to fulfill expectations. You're living to express your truth. Growth requires discomfort. Real growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens in the tension between who you've been and who you're becoming. In midlife, change often feels disorienting. You might feel restless, unsure of what's next, or overwhelmed by choices. Jung believed that this discomfort is not something to fear. It's something to embrace. It's the cracking of an old identity, so a new, truer one can emerge. You may begin to reevaluate everything: your career, your relationships, your values. And that reevaluation might feel like dismantling the foundation of your life. But it's through this dismantling that you build something stronger. Every limiting belief you release, every fear you confront, brings you closer to authenticity, closer to clarity, closer to freedom. Small shifts, profound transformation. Transformation doesn't always require drastic change. Sometimes it's the small choices, the ones we often overlook, that make the biggest difference. It could be setting new boundaries, having a raw, honest conversation, picking up the paintbrush after 20 years, or simply carving out time in your day to breathe, to think, to reflect. Each of these moments is a step toward reclaiming your truth. You may find yourself pulled toward new interests, a new career, a deeper spiritual path, a passion project that reignites your energy. And as you follow these nudges, what once felt like a midlife unraveling begins to feel like a spiritual homecoming. You were always becoming. Jung's wisdom reminds us that transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering the person you were always meant to be. And the path to that person is not always linear. It's winding, it's messy, it's full of tears, laughter, questions, and revelations. But through it all, you grow, you soften, you strengthen, you become real. This chapter of your life, this moment, is not the end. It's the start of a deeper, more meaningful existence. Owning your narrative. By the time you reach 40, you've gathered decades of experience. Some of it joyful, some of it painful, but all of it meaningful. Now you hold the pen. You get to decide what your life looks like moving forward. You get to tell a new story, one not defined by perfection, but by wholeness. Not shaped by external validation, but by inner truth. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need the courage to be honest, to reflect, to question, to begin. And in doing so, you step into a version of yourself that isn't trying to impress the world, but trying to live in it fully and freely. You're not alone, but the journey is yours. The road ahead won't always be easy, but it will be worth it. You may walk through periods of uncertainty. You may feel like everything is shifting beneath your feet. But remember, every great transformation begins with a little discomfort. You don't have to go it alone. Seek support. Surround yourself with people who encourage your growth. Talk to a mentor, a therapist, or simply open up to a trusted friend. Most importantly, trust that the best is yet to come. Life doesn't end at 40. It begins when you stop performing and start becoming. When you stop pretending and start embracing your full, beautiful, complex self.